I want to bring in Paul Rieckhoff, an independent national security analyst and an Iraq War veteran, retired Army Lieutenant General Steph Twitty, who served as deputy commander of U.S. European Command and is an MSNBC military analyst, and Hagar Shamali, former spokesperson for the U.S. mission to the UN and former NSC director for Syria and Lebanon, joins me in studio. Paul, I'll start with you. What can you tell us about what it takes to pull something like this off?
I think it might take genius. I mean, this is really a next level of strategic planning, intelligence gathering, coordination, security, and execution. And this is, in many ways, the future of what warfare will look like, especially the extensive use of drones. And I think it comes on the backs of the September of last year Israeli operation involving the Beepers, where they took down Hezbollah leaders. That took patience and coordination and tremendous advanced planning. And we see, a similar level of innovation and creativity on the the Ukrainian battlefield, where we saw Operation Spider a couple of weeks ago. This is the future of warfare. And I think it's also a reminder to the United States of what we need to be prepared for from our enemies. Drones are the future. It's not rolling tanks through Eastern Europe anymore. This is what the future of a technology-based, drone-driven type of warfare looks like. And in the days to come, I think we will be impressed with the military precision of what it took to pull this off.
Yeah, we are seeing deadly creativity in several of these conflicts here. So, General, what kind of planning goes into an operation like this?
Yeah, first of all, this planning was not coordinated in days, not even months. I spent a lot of time in Israel. I spent a lot of time talking about this particular subject with the Israelis. This has been in the planning for years. And so because it's been in the planning for years, intelligence has been focused on it for years. The military stance and how they would go about it been focused on for years. Developing the informants inside Iran to provide the great intelligence information, and not just the intelligence information, but the cooperation necessary to get the drones into Iran. That had to be coordinated. And so you got to develop those within the country itself. The other part of this, if you think about Hezbollah, they have been decimated by the Israelis. And because they were the ones that are pretty much along the border between Lebanon and Israel, focused more on the security just north of the Golan Heights, when they were decimated, that left a window for the Israelis to smuggle certain weapon systems, certain people through the Golan Heights, up through Syria, into Iran. And so we cannot forget about, if you take a look at Hezbollah and their stance, that leaves a huge void for the Israelis also to put capabilities, sources, and so forth into Iran undetected.
Yeah, the proxy group's a key piece of this equation. Hagar, as you look at the fact that this was obviously pre-planned, it's something that Netanyahu had been saying he wanted to do for years, but certainly in recent weeks against the Trump administration's wishes. Do you imagine that there could be more planned, as they say that they could continue with this for several days or an undetermined amount of time? Where do you think this goes next, and what does that look like?
Sure. So for sure, there's going to be more coming up ahead, right? And Prime Minister Netanyahu has said that. But we have to underscore, and the general noted this, right, that something like this is definitely planned for years. Planning for years, but what was Israel looking for in order to precipitate this? It's a few things. Number one, you had a report that came out a month ago from the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, saying that Iran that their stockpile of weapons-grade enriched uranium had surged by 50%. That's while they were negotiating with the Trump administration, and that they could create 10 nuclear weapons. So number one, they had this argument that it could be preemptive. Number two, they had the argument that they could say, listen, there were talks under Obama, there were talks under Trump, and nothing is working. And the third, and this is the most important, is that Israel proved last fall that the Iranian regime is the emperor without any clothes. Not only any no clothes, they targeted their defense missile systems. It's the emperor with no underwear even. And so they knew that they were targeting something, that they could target something that where their ability to respond is minimal. They have no allies, no missile defense systems. And I explain this why, because this is Israel's chance now. So they're not going to do it half half baked. They're going to say they're going to finish it all the way through, and that is going to really crumble this axis of resistance once and for all.
And that is really the question here, right? Because we've had everyone from the former Defense Secretary Leon Panetta to Ben Rhodes, who was integral in the Obama White House's negotiation of that first Iran nuclear deal, say that all of this comes down for Israel to how well can they actually decimate the nuclear sites there. Based on what you've seen, what do you think?
I think they can do it quite well. I don't think they would have done it if they couldn't do it well, knowing that this was their one chance, something they had discussed for years. And I don't want to undermine the dangers at risk here. You're going to see Iran pursue retaliation probably through its paramilitaries and proxies where they can against U.S. and Israeli interests. But just as we've seen over the last year and a half, and any other time we saw things escalate and everybody screamed, oh my gosh, it's going to be World War III. That's not what happened or transpired, and that's why I have a lot of hope that I don't think the Israeli government would have pursued it if they thought they'd get sucked in to a massive long-term war. I can't tell you how long it's going to last, but I don't think it will be forever.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective there. I think, Paul, you said something about how drone warfare and this kind of creativity that we've seen is the kind of war of the future, but it comes against the backdrop of a military parade here in D.C. tomorrow that will feature what I guess you could say the warfare of the past, things like tanks rolling through the streets. I mean, what does that say to the rest of the world about where the U.S. is and our level of preparation for this?
Well, I think more importantly, what it says to the world is that our president has hijacked the military for political purposes for his own birthday parade. I think that is a larger message. But when it comes down to our strategic preparedness, we have not produced enough drones. I mean, that is something we need to accelerate. Absolutely. Ukraine has shown us that. The world has shown us that. And that's the type of focus we need to massively mobilize our industrial base, to get more training, to get more acceptance of what the future of modern warfare looks like. And it's also, frankly, a painful reminder that, an enemy can pull up a truck full of drones anywhere in America and let them loose. And that's a new kind of threat that we have to be prepared for. We have to be ready for. I also think there's another piece of this that this attack reveals. The world doesn't have to ask for America's permission anymore. Israel can move forward independently, even if Trump opposes it. Trump can't stop Ukraine from doing things, can't stop Russia from doing things. So I think we're moving toward a new normal where America can't dictate the terms to the rest of the world, and they don't have to ask for our permission or even tell us if they're going to do things. And that is, I think, in part a reflection of how isolated we have become under the Trump administration, and how much less safe we are as a nation.